What if I told you you had to run in an election tomorrow? Your opponent will have most of the legacy TV and radio media on his side. They will say your best evidence he is corrupt is Russian disinformation, and social media will censor your allies' posts and sometimes delete their accounts. The EAC, the Election Assistance Commission, will hand one of his campaign groups a $35 million head start, and the FBI will also have suppressed critical information about his lobbying activities that he makes his son take the blame for. That same FBI will have already had one of their lawyers ruin one of your supporters by tampering with an email and getting an illegitimate FISA warrant to spy on your previous campaign to get an unfair advantage. You still won that previous election. Your staffers will be dragged through hell, some of them attacked, and their finances will be diminished as we subjugate them to phony hearings about Russian influence that came from a dossier that was filled with lies. When the election starts, it will be controlled exclusively by people who hate and despise you, and they will also run a shadow campaign and a thinly disguised, illegitimate get-out-the-vote campaign for your opponent, financed by billionaires who claim they are aiding COVID-19 groups or donating to charities, making the use of that money by a get-out-the-vote effort highly questionable. If you object to any of this, you are a conspiracy theorist and must be put on trial for whatever your opponent's allies can dig up. Oh, and one more thing. You can't ever say this election was rigged. That would be unpleasant. All of this will happen before the first ballot is cast. So, are you ready to run? I arrive in Atlanta with Asymmetric Solutions. It's late December of 2020. We're here for the special election. It's going to take place January 5th, 2021, between Kelly Loeffler and Raphael Warnock. I'm assigned to the Georgia World Congress Center in Fulton County. Ralph Jones is running the election there, so I go down to the Georgia World Congress Center to check out Ralph Jones' election apparatus. The Georgia World Congress Center is an amazing series of exhibition halls. There are hundreds of thousands of square feet. Great place to visit. Ralph Jones has an election operation for Fulton County in 2 of these exhibit halls. Let's talk about Ralph Jones. He's the Fulton County Registration Chief. You know him from the State Farm Arena chaos. He was forced to resign over election issues that remain unclear. He was a master of hiding UOCAVA ballots. And this caused me a problem. We're going to get into this. The rule for election observers were draconian. They were ridiculous. For the media, they were like something in North Korea. You can't do anything here. These rules suck. They're most likely illegal. These need to be changed if this is happening at any election. Using or bringing into the room any photographic or electronic monitoring or recording devices, cellular telephones, or computers. This is prohibited. You'll see why it's prohibited in a minute. Let's get to the observation area, or as many of us called it, the observer petting zoo. The observers are allowed here. Don't get too excited. It's like this. You can only go around that little area on the left. Here's a better idea. The green is the observer area. All that red stuff, there's a lot going on. You don't get to see that. This is just the special election for the Senate. What were the other elections like across the country? I get the feeling they were a lot like this. Here's a better impression of the observer area. Thank God someone violated those stupid prohibitions so we could get an idea of what the hell we're looking at. So why the camera prohibitions? In the exhibit hall next to where we're allowed to go, there's a whole lot of activity. There's even a van driving in and out. I can see this stuff, but we're not allowed to go there. And man, it looks crazy. In the back corners of these exhibit halls are these suites. They're on the second story, basically. And they overlook the entire exhibit hall. And it's COVID crazy times. Remember I told you everything's locked down? So there's no way they're letting anyone back there. Everything is blocked off. It's very rigorously patrolled. They're not letting anyone in those suites to get any pictures of anything. So I get into this suite and holy cow, is there a lot to see. I'm going to go through all this. I put together a panorama, like a compilation of photos together. I took some separate too. We'll go through everything. And man, now I know why cameras are prohibited. First up, let's address these 2 dudes. They're working on a voting machine. It's turned on. There's 2 guys. Here's the guy's arm. Here's a box. It's a box of official ballots. This voting machine is turned on. There's boxes of official ballots around these guys. And look, this is a power cable. There are extension cords all over the place. What's going on here? I'm very curious about the boxes of official ballots. Why are they concealed from observers? Remember, this is the most secure election ever. Just for a frame of reference, I'm over here now. I wanted to do that other suite, but I got in this suite. It's a better view, and I could see what's going on, especially with the vans driving in and out. So you got to see the van driving in and out. And our guys we're looking at, they're working right about here. So let's take a look at the van. Now the van's kind of a piece of crap. I do like this reflection, though, showing us that the voting machine is turned on. It has all these marks all over the hood where the paint is worn off, and you can see the exposed steel underneath. I wonder what this van is bringing in and out of this warehouse that is hidden from the observers. Is it bringing in batches of votes? Big boxes of votes? Voting machines? Other workers? Why is this van driving in and out of this exhibit hall, and why is it hidden from election observers? And how come Carter Jones of Seven Hills didn't catch this? He was an investigator hired to catch stuff like this. I didn't see the van in his report. What happened there, buddy? We'll pick on Carter Jones later. His report's pretty good, actually, especially the 2020 election one. There's some interesting stuff in there. I encourage everyone to read it. The Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, definitely liked it because he used it to blame Ralph Jones for everything that he told him to do. You know, they'd order Ralph Jones around, tell him what to do, and then they decided they were going to fire him. I mean, I can just smell the integrity. We'll mess with the Secretary of State about his integrity later. Right now, let's go back to the room that we're forbidden from seeing, the exhibit hall, with all those glorious voting machines that are powered up and networked together with boxes of ballots around them, and workers that we can't see. They're hidden from us, that no one talks about. Ever. So here's the location of those workers working on the voting machines in this whole thing, in this crazy panorama. And you can kind of see him here. His pants kind of blend into the concrete floor, but that's him inside the box, and he's still working on the machine. The van's over here for a frame of reference. So the workers in the one square, van's over there on the far side. This larger wide rectangle kind of in the upper left center. This is where I could kind of peek through a crack in the wall and see rows of voting machines, and I saw a flicker of the van. And I knew, like, there was a lot going on over here, so I had to get up here and see this. But they will not let the observers over here to observe any of this. It's totally hidden from them. This is a big problem. These are random vehicles in here, and they appear from time to time. They're probably people's personal vehicles. This is a real security issue. Now, at the time when I see this, I know this is grossly insecure. This is just prepared for some fine-tuning. Someone can come in with a hot rod thumb drive and just go to work on this network. There is this report released called the Halderman Report. It's by Alex Halderman. Here's an NBC News article about this report. Article is titled, Expert Report Fuels Election Doubts as Georgia Waits to Update Voting Software. The warnings are stark, suggesting that Georgia's voting machines could be manipulated by bad actors in mere minutes. Halderman argued that attackers could alter the QR codes on printed ballots and install malware on individual voting machines with only brief physical access. They could attack the broader voting system if they have the same access as certain county-level election officials, his report said. Now that room kind of looks like anyone can get access to it. I mean, I'm looking at it. I could have crawled down in there. I could be a lookout for someone to get in there. It's not secure at all. When you have all this stuff out there exposed, the stuff's networked together, we're constantly reassured these things aren't on a network. Oh wait, here's a bunch of networks. This whole situation does not look good. It's a very bad look. And no one ever wants to explain it. Right next to this exhibit hall is another exhibit hall we don't have access to. It's the secret parking area. We would joke about it, call it the secret parking garage. I happened upon this place by mistake with another operative because someone was getting out of their car in here and they didn't see us. It's very dark. And they just walk on in to that middle area where we're restricted from seeing also. And understand, this is COVID crazy time. To get into this place, you got to take this COVID test from a machine that tests your COVIDity. Just takes your temperature. But that's how you got in. You had a big COVID challenge to get in. And you have to wear a mask and all that stuff. And this was important to Carter Jones in his Seven Hills report because he talked about the astoundingly poor mask hygiene by monitors. How does he miss the secret parking area and the people are just walking in and out with no COVID challenges? Either he missed this or he ignored it. I would really love to know. Holy cow. Neither Ralph Jones or the gentleman on the left are wearing their masks right. Call the mask police. That night was pretty uneventful. I believe we're now on December 22nd. A story made its way to me that some of our election observers had a run-in with a volunteer at the credentials desk. There is a woman posing as a volunteer at the credentials desk. What the credentials desk is a place where you get a badge to say you're a proper election observer, and then you can walk around the little election observer petting zoo. Evidently, she was really laying down the law to the observers. One of them pointed out she had a logo on her clothing from a Colorado country club. They had a conversation with her and found out she's from the Boulder area or the Denver area. And I go to Ralph Jones. I confront Ralph Jones. I say, Ralph, observers tell me there's a lady from Colorado posing as a volunteer at the credentials desk. And what's going on with that? Ralph Jones is surprisingly forthcoming, and he tells me that the Fulton County Board of Elections has signed a contract with the National Vote at Home Institute, and that lady's name was Hillary Hall. So I look up Hillary Hall on the National Vote at Home Institute's webpage. This is very easy to do. They have a nice website. I find Hillary Hall's bio. I look her up. I know who she is. She's a powerful person at a powerful activist organization, and she's going to go on the report tonight. We're going to talk about why we have a powerful activist group hooked up with the Board of Elections. Our group meets back at the hotel, we get ready to do reports, and I start discussing Hillary Hall, National Vote at Home Institute, and we're going to look up her bio, and we're all going to discuss what this means. When I go to look up the bio for everybody, it's gone. Now, it's only been a few hours, and they've already changed their website and removed the bios. That's a problem, and it was a big red flag to us. These people are moving fast. And I had no idea what I was about to discover about National Vote at Home Institute. Using an archived version of the website, you can see the link I originally used to find the staff bios. That link had disappeared that evening. After the election, their site went back to normal. If a volunteer had told me that story, I would have taken it with a grain of salt and probably not believed it. During all this time, I am hunting down UOCAVA ballots. UOCAVA is an acronym for the Uniformed and Overseas Citizens Absentee Voting Act. The short version is its votes of overseas soldiers and overseas American citizens. Now remember, we're dealing with Ralph Jones, and I told you earlier, he's a master of hiding UOCAVA ballots. I was all over Ralph Jones about these UOCAVA ballots. He lied to me repeatedly. One time he even stated that the ballots were sitting alone in a warehouse. This is from the report I filed about this circus. The title of the report is Georgia, GWCC Summary, Wednesday, December 23, 2020. Fulton. On December 21st, Fulton County Chief Registrar Ralph Jones stated that UOCAVA ballots were in a separate location awaiting scanning by a special machine that wasn't prepared or available at that time. We were told they would be processed today, Wednesday, December 23rd, and we would be able to observe them. Upon arrival at the GWCC facility, there were no UOCAVA ballots on site. Vincent Bordini asked Ralph Jones if he could observe the processing of UOCAVA ballots, and he was told they are not here. Ralph Jones promised to make a phone call and find out where the ballots and the machine that processed them were at, and he would get back to Vincent Bordini with an answer. He did not, and he disappeared from the facility. It is my opinion that the Fulton County Chief Registrar is either misleading us about the situation or he's calling Hillary Hall of the National Vote at Home Institute for advice. If he's not talking to Hillary Hall, he's talking to someone from the Secretary of State. I say the Secretary of State because Ralph mentioned talking to the Secretary of State himself. So this will give you an idea of the Fulton County chain of command. Amber McReynolds, the CEO of National Vote at Home at this time, is running everything. This lady is one of the best political operatives I've ever seen, and in the 2020 election, she got her way across the board with everybody. Brilliant and beautiful, and Republican dudes like Brad Raffensperger were just like old drooling Labradors in her hands. Oh boy, she's talking to me. She's paying attention to me. The guy did everything she said. She spoke it into Jordan Fuchs' ear. Jordan Fuchs made it happen. Brad was hands off, handing everything to Jordan Fuchs. Gabriel Sterling ran interference, debunking things and talking tough. And that was sort of the state level operation. At the county level, Hillary Hall was calling the shots for Rick Barron and Ralph Jones. They will probably never admit this, but there is no way a high-powered operative like Hillary Hall goes to Fulton County and has guys like that ordering her around. It should be noted, these people were richly rewarded for their roles in the 2020 election. Except for the Fulton County guys, Rick and Ralph, they got fired. Amber McReynolds was elevated to the Board of Governors of the United States Postal Service. She is one of 9 governors that sits on a board. It's 11 board members, a postmaster general, a deputy postmaster general, and 9 governors, and Amber McReynolds is one of them. She got appointed to that board as an independent, but she is a lifelong Soros operative. Everything she's ever done is for the left. That's kind of a scandal in and of itself. We'll get into that later. Next up is Jordan Fuchs, and she's running the Secretary of State's office. One of her rewards was to get nominated to the Board of Directors for the Electronic Registration Information Center, ERIC. Fuchs will also get a nice salary for being on that board. Jordan will also become an advisor for EOLDN. That's the Election Official Legal Defense Network. She will also be involved with the Center for Election Innovation and Research, CEIR. She will receive an award from them, too, after the 2020 election, and it seems she is very tech-savvy, according to all these people. Sterling got $200,000 for implementation. So when you see him being a champion of Dominion, not wanting to have the machines updated, saying that the machines are perfectly secure even though they hide them from security tests, well, you know why. He got bribed with $200,000. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger also goes to EOLDN. He himself nabs an award from CEIR, and he writes a book telling us how his integrity counts. Rick Barron and Ralph Jones do everything these people tell them to do and get fired. I have no idea what Hillary Hall got, but she's quite interesting, so let's talk about her again. In 2012, Hillary Hall was sued for violating the state law that allows observers to see the process handling mail-in ballots, UOCAVA absentee ballots. Quote from the article, Hall also agreed to provide daily logs and screenshots of the mail-in ballots and ballots returned by voters under procedures set forth in the Uniformed and Overseas Citizens Absentee Voting Act. This means she wasn't obeying the law. Her attorney settled because she was going to face a judge, so they quickly worked out a deal to avoid that confrontation. Voters do not have access to funds, to money and attorneys to stop the unethical and at times illegal practices engaged in by these activist groups. This is a key strategy they employ to take control of elections from the elected officials. Hall was sued again in 2014 for similar issues, and she was not letting observers see the signature verification. That case got dismissed by an activist judge. Once you understand that the absentee mail-in ballot legal games are key to the left-wing election operation, you begin to understand how the entire 2020 election was affected by this kind of deception. So we were really concerned at this point that we were going to see some of that behavior here in Fulton. A quote from this article captures our thoughts perfectly. Hillary Hall really stands apart from every other county clerk in the state, refusing to give meaningful access for Republican poll watchers to do their job. And it's unfortunate that we've had to resort to legal action to compel the clerk to let our watchers in. It was Ryan Call, the state chairman for the Colorado Republican Party, when he sued her. Let's do a quick review. Why were there concealed work areas with no observers' access? Out-of-state contractors were running the Fulton County elections operation. Why was a Colorado-based activist posing as a volunteer and ordering poll observers around? Why did the activist flee once she was outed? There is a secret parking area where there were no COVID-detecting measures present. Why a secret parking garage, and how come COVID tests were allowed to be ignored there? The UOCAVA ballot deception was unforgivable. Lie after lie, and I was never allowed to see them. Election workers or private company employees were filmed and photographed working with powered-up voting machines and boxes of official ballots. At the same time, a van was driving in and out of the facility. What was this van bringing to these workers? What are they doing with the ballots and voting machines while concealed from observers? Remember the Halderman Report? It's crazy the report was ever kept secret in the first place. The Halderman Report was not unsealed until June of 2023. It clearly and unequivocally demonstrated how vulnerable these Dominion machines were. A report like that is sealed for a reason. It would have caused great duress, and it should trouble everyone that it was kept from us for so long. The fact that credible people published these two paragraphs should have given everyone pause. The software update that Georgia installed in October 2020 left Georgia's BMDs in a state where anyone can install malware with only brief physical access to the machines. I show that this problem can potentially be exploited in the polling place even by non-technical voters. Attackers can forge or manipulate the smart cards that the ICX uses to authenticate technicians, poll workers, and voters. Without needing any secret information, I created a counterfeit technician card that can unlock any ICX in Georgia, allowing anyone with physical access to install malware. With the existence of the Halderman Report and the proof that these machines are truly vulnerable, this scene of these gentlemen working on these powered-up networked voting machines is troubling. It's most troubling because they hide this from us. Why was this work kept hidden? There are boxes of ballots and ballots everywhere. There was ballots stuffed in the little shells. There's friggin' ballots everywhere. What is that? They have a cargo vehicle driving in and out. The machines are networked together. Why conceal this work? It's not a good look. The Halderman Report proves the machines are easily hackable, and later we will see a demonstration of this. Right now, I want to focus on the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, and Gabriel Sterling. Sterling is supposed to be with the Secretary of State's office, but is also a Dominion flack at this time, because he nabbed $200,000 to implement their machines. So once the Halderman Report was released, the Georgia Secretary of State immediately attacked the Halderman Report. The Georgia Secretary of State released a statement declaring the Halderman Report's claims as imaginary. The risks outlined in the researchers' report are theoretical and imaginary, said Raffensperger. Our security measures are real and mitigate all of them. Yeah, you totally stopped me. I wasn't easily crawling all over the place. Gabriel Sterling made this statement. It should be obvious that with 3 months of completely unlimited, completely unrestricted access to any system in a laboratory environment, smart people can create hypothetical situations showing theoretical manipulation of those systems, said Chief Operating Officer Gabriel Sterling. The procedural safeguards we have in place mitigate these hypothetical scenarios from happening. It's extremely unlikely that any bad actor will be able to exploit our voting systems in the real world. The system is secure. Yes, it brought us the most secure election ever. I want to thank Gabriel Sterling for that amazing Orwellian word salad. According to the Halderman Report, the software update that Georgia installed in October 2020 left Georgia's ballot marking devices in a state where anyone can install malware with only brief physical access to the machines in the polling places, even by non-technical voters. J. Alex Halderman. The Georgia Secretary of State's office was simply outmatched by the people behind the Halderman Report. With very little time and very little access, a few thousand votes can be moved, and we know that can flip a state. The reaction of the Georgia Secretary of State's office tells you all you need to know. Gabriel Sterling was practically demanding everyone agree that his voting machines were secure. Look at this guy. I love this pic. It looks like they just finished up a rubber band fight. Totally what I would do after nabbing $200,000 for implementing voting machines. Did I mention he got $200,000 for implementing voting machines? He's got my favorite speech from Teddy Roosevelt up there, Man in the Arena, but his is a phony version. The last lines of the speech are removed from Gabriel Sterling's version. The last lines are, "Shame on the man of cultivated taste who lets refinement to develop into fastidiousness that unfits him for doing the rough work of a workday world." Yeah, that means he's concerned about appearances and not really concerned about getting into the nitty-gritty of things, like voting machine security. I don't know, $200,000 might make me forget too.